Hi, I'm Tanya, and I wanted to take a moment to answer this question I've been getting a lot recently about, hey, I just read something online that makes Gary sound like a really weird guy, or, um, you know, what's the story with this person? And I think it's a good question because, quite frankly, there's a lot. There's a lot online that tears Gary down, that demonizes him, and that undermines, in my opinion, this extraordinary human. And so I want to step back for a moment to address that because it matters. Gary Young, and I feel very blessed to have had the opportunity to be with him a handful of times while he was still living. Gary is a different kind of human. Gary was a different kind of human. That's undisputable. He had a presence about him where he just kind of there was a light. His eyes would shine, and he'd walk into the room, and I had the felt experience of just, you could feel the presence of someone who was so committed to changing the world. Now, I want you to take a moment and think back in history to the times when life-changing inventions were created. Thomas Edison and the light bulb. How about or even the notion that the world is round, okay? When great minds and hearts discover something that is outside of mainstream culture, most of them get slammed for it, okay? Revolutionaries are creating change for the greater good, and often the kind of change they are creating makes people uncomfortable. It makes people uncomfortable. Now, some of those people that the discomfort comes from just folks like you and me being uncomfortable with change. But often when there's a revolution, we're changing a system that's broken or trying to level out the playing fields, and the person that's on top might not be so happy about that. So Young Living provides extraordinary solutions for wellness, purpose, and abundance. Who does that threaten? Young Living, Gary Young started planting farms and learning the fine art of distillation way back when everybody in the United States especially was calling essential oils snake oils. You're crazy. What are you talking about? Right? It is because of Gary Young's vision and his work and advocacy work that essential oils are now becoming very mainstream. But he started back in a time where everyone thought he was a freak and a weirdo for doing it. Gary was hell-bent on finding solutions, empowering solutions where people could reconnect with their own body's capacity for healing and draw in support frequencies from the energy of plants to partner with the brilliance of this masterpiece, the human body. Gary preached empowerment. Gary taught means and modalities to live in harmony with the earth. The network modeling model that he chose to position his company within, because of Mary Young's brilliance and her knowledge, was based on the knowing that this is the only economic structure that where growth happens only when people help people, when we are service-led. The only way that anybody rises is by lifting up others, right? Gary put the marketing of essential oils into the hands of his customers because he knew so truly the efficacy of his products. Now, was Gary wild? Absolutely. Did Gary do some crazy stuff? Yeah. What kind of personality do you think you have to create something world-changing out of nothing? Gary mentioned in an interview that they had filmed and they showed at this year's convention, the grit and the will it takes to be an entrepreneur. Because it is by default that when we move towards the unknown, that reptilian mind of ours, it creates fear, and people react to it. One of the things he spoke about is his will to keep moving forward, even when he was constantly slandered on the internet. How many people had this dream of moving their business forward and stopped because of the first person that questioned them? Think about the kind of human spirit, the kind of self-love, the kind of connection to a bigger, better world that one needs to push through all of the adversity and all of the criticism that Gary did to build what is about to become a multi-billion-dollar company that is servicing grassroots style humans on every continent around the globe, that is pouring sustainable and organic farming practices into the planet all over the world, that is insisting on kindness and love and integrity. These are the kind of values that I want to live by. So if you have read some stuff that makes you question Gary Young's integrity, I encourage you to go back and find the source. When I think off the top of my head, or what are some of the companies or people that might feel threatened by Young Living, might feel inspired to write something nasty about the man? Well, other essential oil companies that, like Gary, did not start planting farms 30 years ago. You know, or how about the pharmaceutical world that's dependent on people being sick? You know, when we find solutions that don't have horrifying side effects, that are in unity with the earth and in harmony with our spirit body, helping to lift us up by raising our frequencies, that's a different kind of living. And so people are going to respond to that. So know the sources, do your research. Sarah Harnish's brand new edition of the Game Plan has not only a beautiful tribute that captures just a little slice of Gary Young's spirit and integrity at the beginning of the book, but at the end of the book she also has a long list of resources of different places where you can hear Gary's voice, read more of his story, learn more of the history of who he was and what Young Living is. And at the very top of that list is my favorite resource to talk about Gary, which is Gary Young, the world leader in essential oils. And this was a book that Mary wrote just a couple years ago. And one of the things that I love most about the book is that it is mostly pictures. And so you get a sense of Gary and who he was as a world traveler, defining new botanicals around the world, who he was as an adventurer and explorer, who he was in the field and with people. You can see with your own eyes, photo documented the true story of Gary Young, an imperfect human, but an extraordinary being. Somebody who I hugely admire, and who his imprint on humanity, just in this one person, just in me, Gary Young taught me to dream again. Gary Young reignited my hope. Gary Young helped me realize that the power to heal and change my life is right here inside of me. He taught me to stop looking out there and to come home to what's right here. And it is through his vision, his dream, that some of the richest friendships and extraordinary learning opportunities have come into my life over these last several years. So be curious, find answers, but know the sources that you're reading from. And keep in mind, saying yes to partnering with Young Living's global mission and wellness, purpose, and abundance, it's joining a global movement, a revolution to enhance and heal this world, one drop at a time. And I invite you to dive deep and enjoy the journey of discovering the extraordinary history and stories of Gary Young, the Young family, and the vision of what we're all carrying forward. I hope that's helpful.